It is 9:30 a.m. This meeting will be called to order. Today's a good day for a meeting, so I'm excited, y'all. Good morning. Welcome to the November 16th meeting of the Transportation Committee. I am Councilmember Antonio Lewis, Vice Chair of the committee. I'm joined by Council Members Alex Wan, Councilmember Keisha Sean Waits, Councilmember Matt Westmoreland, and from my left to right, can we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Second. It's been moved and properly second. Will you please open the vote?
Mr. Vice Chair, can you please repeat the motion seconder?
This seconder was by Matt West. It was introduced by second by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland. Have a little fun.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Can we have a motion to approve the minutes? Second. It's been moved and properly second. Mr. Johnson, can you open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
And we have public comment today. How many speakers do we have signed up?
Mr. Vice Chair, we currently have 9 speakers signed up for public comment.
Okay, we're going to have a little fun today. So can we have the first speaker come up?
Mr. Yonis.
Chairman.
So, Mr. Yonis, and today, when you come up, please state your name and who you're with.
Okay, my name is Shamark Yonis. I'm Atlanta Taxi Drivers Chairman. On behalf of my colleagues here today, we here today. I'm glad you guys are looking for. We're trying to ask them from extension from 7 to 10 years, and we came here a few weeks ago. And honestly, we're so happy to be here again, and we had a good faith on you guys, especially Anthony Lewis. He took the courage to at least listen to us what our issue is. Last 3 years, we honestly been suffering since the COVID happening. You know, I mean, driver never give up, transporting for a customer, you know, from airport, downtown, midtown, bucket, whatever destination final is. So we lost a lot of good drivers because of COVID and other issues. And economically, the drivers basically, they was been suffering because the COVID, honestly. And right now, business trying to coming back. And when we look for our business in other area, the city of Atlanta, we lost it. Atlanta convention is gone. The convention center, actually, they wouldn't even allow them, the cab drivers parking up there. The city of Atlanta, you know, we used to have all the hotels, motels, parking is gone. There's no enforcement, honestly, in when looking for the city of Atlanta, and no enforcement out there. So everybody can bring the junk here. So basically, we lost a lot of revenue since the last 3 years. And then now it's becoming like a hardship because it's hard to drivers, honestly, buy a car right now, be honest with you, because it's extremely, if you're buying a used car, costs $15,000, $20,000. So it's going to be very, very hardship for the drivers at this moment to buy cars. And, you know, we went to airport, we discussed the issue, airport general manager, his team, we met a couple of times, we explained to them hardship, we up against it, and then Anthony Lewis was so happy, great for you, honestly, took the courage to take the ownership. And we're just happy for you guys because we've been dealing last previous management team in here, and nobody actually helping us. So basically, it's the first time I see new faces, had a good heart, at least looking after the drivers in issue. And I have some other people who's going to speak for our time, but I'm glad and happy to be here again and pray for you guys and helping us in the issue we're having. And I'm very happy you guys. You know, this is the moment we need you guys, all of you guys, to helping us and basically pass it from, you know, 10 years age limit. If you go other city like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, all the big airport, they have from 10 years, some of them have 15 years. But only in the city of Atlanta where they're giving you 7 years age limit. And I'm glad you guys are looking in, and hopefully you guys are supporting us, because right now, honestly, you can see all those drivers in here, they need help. They desperate need you guys in help and supporting us. So thank you very much, and again, and hopefully we'll look from you guys, helping us for today. Thank you, guys.
Giannis, thank you for coming. I also want to say all of the council members who signed, they worked on that. It just wasn't me. I want to make sure they know Matt Westmoreland, Keisha Sean Waits, they all worked on making sure we got that through. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you, because I saw the signature, 9 of them, so you're right. There's a lot of you guys who definitely put the signature and supporting the issue, but you took the leadership and lead it, and then everybody coming around with you, and we appreciate everybody else who put the signature, and other rest of the, hopefully city council, hopefully they come together and helping us. We really appreciate it, you and your colleague. God bless you, man. Thanks.
The next speaker will be Mr. Kevin Ross, and you have three people that have yielded time to you.
Good morning, members of the committee. Kevin Ross, representing Atlanta Checker Cab and the taxi cab drivers. I see I have this time yielded, but I don't need that much time. I'll try to be brief and efficient. First of all, it is extremely necessary to move this limit from 7 to 10 years. The amount of capital investment that is required of the drivers, if we were to stick with the 7-year limit in this very, very competitive environment, is burdensome, and quite honestly, many of them would have trouble meeting it. We still have a vibrant taxi cab industry here in the city, as represented by the drivers in this room. So your support and the support of the other members who've signed on this legislation is much appreciated. I would remind that a number of years ago, the limit was at 10 years. And when the city did legislation following the state passage of law involving rideshare, limousines, and taxis, the city reversed itself and went down to 7. So 10 is a place that we've been before, where everybody was comfortable, and we assure you that there would still be obviously quality vehicles because the competitive environment demands it. The other thing is that there's obviously still pending in committee 22-0-1556 and 22-0-1557. There are other issues which I spoke to a few weeks ago when I was at committee that we think are necessary to level the playing field between taxis, rideshare, and limousines. But since the legislation before us today just deals with the age limit, I will reserve the comments on those other issues when either new legislation or the legislation pending comes before you for consideration. So we ask for your support to pass this out of committee unanimously, hopefully, and we think you will be doing a good service to people who have been serving the city of Atlanta for many years as transportation agents. So thank you, and again, brief with time.
Thank you. Next up, we have looking debonair. We got DeJuan Robinson coming up next.
Thank you, Councilman Lewis, and all the council members that have passed this legislation. At this time, can I ask all taxi drivers to stand up, please? So this is what you see, and many couldn't make it down here today. But one thing I want to thank you guys for, and what we seem to forget is that though we have moved into a new age with Uber and Lyft, we still have a large community of seniors that don't have smartphones, don't have the bank account that you connect with Uber and Lyft. They depend on taxi. And we have to just keep that in remembrance, and we appreciate you guys for doing this. I've been working with them for about 5 years now. I met Jonas and other leadership in 2009. So I've been knowing these guys since 2009. I go over there with them, taking pictures of the bathrooms and everything over there. And the new general manager at the airport have been very supportive and responsive whenever we reached out to them about their concerns. So today is a good day for these men because they really trying to just understand and figure out, and sometimes it can be a language barrier, trying to get them to understand how the process works down here, and them seeing new faces and believing in the new council members that have come on is a great thing for these guys today. So you guys can have a seat. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of them in Atlanta because we do need taxi, And yeah, there are some things that maybe they have to come up to code with, but just remember our seniors depend on this. And there's a lot of people in Atlanta still that don't have the means of getting around with Uber and Lyft. And, and sometimes we just can't let them dominate and just overstep taxi because taxi is needed. And it just has to be fair and respect sometimes, because sometimes when you do pull up to certain hotels, they remove the taxi signs and all you see is Uber and Lyft, and that's not fair. And we can't regulate that at every hotel and every stop, but we can at least help them in the areas that we can help them with. So I just want to say on behalf of them and myself, I'm very proud of you guys, not just for this, but the job you're doing since you guys been elected. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you.
Thank you, Dewan. Next up, and I apologize if I say your name wrong, Safian Abidi Ahmed.
Good morning, council members. My name is Abdi S. Ahmed, a taxi driver. And I'm just trying to say thank you for helping us taking this issue, because we've been losing a lot of drivers since this 7-year car age limit passed. The first time they kick us out from the airport because of the 7 years, 800 of us lost their jobs. Now, 300, 400 left out of 1,600. And now 50, 70% of the cars we drive are 2013, 14, 15, subject to be closed on December 31st, midnight. So please, thank you very much again for helping all these people keep their jobs. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
And I want to pause this and say we have been joined by Councilmember Marcy Overstreet. Thank you, District 11. Next up, we have Mr. George Sade.
My name is George Seda. A veteran of taxi cab since 1981. First of all, I'd like to thank you very dearly for spending your time and looking at this issue at depth more than ever. Now, we are the survivors of the COVID. About 2 years ago, we had only 25% keeping the taxi cab line at downtown and airport. 25% took a dangerous risk, which nobody wanted to. Many organizations were operating at home. And we have our members, 25% of our members, sacrificed their life to keep this city alive and to provide the transportation service that was needed at that time. When you came to the airport, you could see a top light where there was nobody available. They took a dangerous risk where all the business were being done virtually, but they did. Now, what you have done, our honorable members, is going far deep to this city of Atlanta. You have saved 75% of our workforce who are now going to be able to put food for their children on the table and survive. And therefore, we are not going to take this lightly. The time that you have spent to look at the subject of 10 years car age limit is going to keep these people alive. 75% of our workforce are going to be working as of now. As we are recovering, and the pace of recovery is very slow, but we can see the light through the tunnel at this time, because the conventions are beginning to come at this time. And we are seeing the progress that we never saw 2 years ago. But one thing that we have to understand, we sacrifice to provide the most needed transportation service in this city during the time that people did not want to show up. And we paid some penalty. Those penalties that we paid, we lost some of our people, some of our drivers who died during the COVID time. They are not with us here now. So as we are now coming to join the forces now, and then we are bombarded with this 10 years car age limit that they are going to be weeded out. But the councillors, you councillors, you have been so considerate and helped and looked around and say that you are going to save us. So you have saved us a lot, and therefore what you have done has to be looked at it at depth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And to be consistent, I'll let everybody go about 24 seconds over as chair today. Thank you, since we let you go over. The next person coming up will be, I don't want him to go over. The next person coming up will be Ricky Brown. And he's the only person who can't go over 24 seconds. Y'all gonna hit his gavel.
How y'all doing today? First of all, I want to say thank you to this committee because I was asked to come here and stand with these young men. Can these taxi drivers stand up again? Because today is a good day that black men won today in Atlanta. These are black men. And when I see them, when they came to me and they, Mr. Ricky, we want somebody that can talk. I can talk. And what they were asking for was simple. I remember that the last time I looked at 28% of the people in this city of Atlanta rely on public transportation. And when I say that, then that means that we go all the way back before the Ubers, before the Lyfts. Our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers depended on these men here. Somebody's cut my mic off. But they depended on these men to take them to the doctor, to take them to school. And so we want to make sure that we respect that. And I want to make sure that we also, I was with Dewan and we went over to their facility on yesterday and I took some great pictures. There's some other things I would like for you to look at today, but it's a good day for these men as they can survive. And not only that, we also want to look at, as we're going into the age of electric cars, find some funding to be able to help these men as we get to that point, help them be able to get these electric cars, because that's something that's going to be needed. That's something that's going to be the future. We can't stop it. So we want to make sure that we put them in a position where they can make money when that time comes. There's incentives, there's things that from the government can help them get to that point and be able to get these type cars to be able to compete. And so we want to make sure that we look at those things as well. But today is a good day. For the taxi cab drivers. My name is Ricky Brown. I'm a representative of the Atlanta Taxi Association that I've been appointed, and I'm proud to be that. And also, I look forward to seeing a lot of your city councilmen tonight. And if you're really serious about crime, I look to see you tonight at Midnight Basketball, as the championship is tonight, as these young men are going out and going all across the city, and they're not committing crimes. And we want to make sure that we support that and encourage that. So we look forward to seeing all of the city councilmen and your constituents to come out tonight and support these young men, all right? Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Ricky Brown. Our last speaker for today is Ms. Mona Muhammad.
Good morning, y'all.
Morning.
It's been a minute since I've been here, but today, of course, my name is Mona Muhammad. I'm still 26. I have 2 more weeks till my birthday, and I'm a small business owner inside of Greenbrier Mall. I've been coming here for the last few months discussing the MARTA plan for the Campbellton Road corridor. Today, I'm just here to say we made a little bit of progress, where now our community yard signs are visible. They're white. You could see that it's a public transit project. You have QR codes that you can scan it, to the point where my family that lives in the community told me about the meeting before I saw it. Now we've made progress to the point where MARTA understands that the information that they're giving to the community has to be visible. That now that the people in my community has the opportunity to gain more information about what's coming. Next step to me should be that we should focus on making sure that we actually get all of the funding that is promised for Campbellton Road. A verbal promise is not enough because it's shown itself previously where we got a verbal promise of one thing, and now that it's time to get a little bit closer, we're not getting it. I don't know these processes, but I do hope that we can all come together and find a way that we make sure that the funding actually happens. A lot of projects throughout the city of Atlanta in minority communities, there's a lot of funding for it, but it does not get implemented because there are not people doing the jobs. There are a lot of people that are interims, they're in and out, and essentially funds get taken away if they're not used in a timely manner. I don't know what we could do, but if there's a way that the city can create an organization that actually follows up on these more MARTA plans that MARTA has, because it is a two-party project where the city's paying for it as well as MARTA. And then lastly, to talk about how Clifton is at their second locally preferred alternative, as Campbellton was on their first with the bus option. We still have hope to change our locally preferred alternative from bus rapid to light rail. And it's easily feasible due to the fact that both projects are 4 lanes. Even though they're starting with bus rapid, there is potential to continue with light rail in the future. Our community, that Biden administration is focusing on equity in many communities. This is the opportunity for Campbellton to succeed, which it has not succeeded in its fullest capacity in 26 years. And I just hope that we take those baby steps. I'm all about baby steps, and check, we made progress. They're aware that they were wrong. And next is to make sure that the money gets spent correctly. And then lastly, it's getting what we deserve, which to me is still light rail. But I'm very optimistic, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, Ms. Mona. The next on our agenda is presentations. Today we have 2 presentations from the Atlanta Department of Transportation. Is the department ready to present? And thank you again to everyone who came to speak, took time out of your day. Thank you again.
Good morning. Yes, we are ready to present, and thank you so much for this opportunity. My first presentation this morning is our quarterly update. One of the things, at the Department of Transportation, we always talk about safety first, whether it is something that affects the general public or things that affect our own staff. And so we've implemented a system in our maintenance facility where we're keeping very close track of our own performance. And we're very proud to say that we went from the day we started, and we've now surpassed it. But when we put this presentation together, we had gone 100 days without any kind of preventable accident or injury. So we want to keep that in the forefront of everybody's mind. It's all of our business.
And we're gonna try to respect the department head who's talking. Please. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. It's all of our business to think about safety and take that into account, whatever we're doing. So we wanted to share that with you. I want to go over some issues today related to our staffing, talk about the historic program, the Renew and the T-SPLOST 1.0, some of the special initiatives, and then I'm going to close the presentation with a summary of some of our performance and related back to our staffing challenges. So this is our structure right now, and I do want to point out the vacancies that you're seeing there are the vacancies that were unfunded vacancies in this budget cycle. So we're fundamentally down about 90 some odd positions from what was anticipated. I don't think we need all 90, but we certainly need a portion of those to really be able to deliver on the programs and promises that are made. As you know, the Renew Atlanta program still has some projects that are moving forward. We have some that are in construction or going into construction in the spring, and we have a couple of others that are going to be moving into final design. We are very proud that we are now underway with our Vision Zero plan. The consultant is underway, and we're getting ready for our first series of meetings, and I'm sure that you'll be hearing about that and invited to participate with us in that planning process. As with Renew Atlanta, T-Splosh 1.0 still has some projects in the works, but we are making progress, and with a few more project managers, I think we can accelerate those and get those done over the next couple of years as well.
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
Are some of the project managers the vacancy positions?
So some of them are, but some of them are also some of the consulting positions.
Gotcha.
And I'll address later one piece of how we're going to be dealing with that. So just as a reminder, we do have a robust website where at any time you can go in and look at the status of any project that is in the program. The project sheets that are behind all of this are updated on a monthly basis. As the finance department closes their month, we update both the project description as well as the project financial information. So the DeKalb, some of the projects that you've asked to hear about are DeKalb Avenue safety improvements. That project is moving forward. Department of Watershed Management is doing their portion of the work that will allow us to come in when the paving season begins in the spring to do the resurfacing and to be able to turn on the new signals, do the restriping, et cetera, that will finish that project out. Cascade Road, we just recently had a public meeting on that project. The utility work is ongoing. Much of the watershed management work is complete, but there are many, many other utilities that are in there right now sequenced so that they can get their work done as well. And I know we have an item we're going to talk about later regarding that. We have reached out to the contractor to see if it is possible for them to change the sequencing of the construction project, and we expect to have a letter back from them shortly as to what the implications of that would be. The Moores Mill Road intersection, I know there's been a lot of discussion about that. The project has been advertised, it was pulled. We are in the final stages of working through some of the last details to be able to put that project back out. It's a situation where we're trying to do the best we can for both the transportation system and the neighborhood, and want to make sure that we're making a wise investment. We don't want to do improvements, spend money on improvements that don't address the transportation issues out there. So we're working very hard to make sure that the solution is productive for the community. I want to touch on this, and I'm very grateful for the support and the changes that have happened in the procurement department. Working very closely together, we were able to get the contractors, the consultants contracts signed very quickly. We are in the internal process of getting all of the departmental signatures done. There are a few small issues that are being addressed, but we currently have 5 of the 12 teams fully under contract. That's happened in the last 2 weeks, and we expect in the next week or two that we'll have the remainder complete. This goes back to your question earlier about project managers. We do have the opportunity now that these contracts are signed to use project managers from these teams to supplement our staff. So we are going to take advantage of that. There is an overhead component in the budget, so we will have resources available to do that. That being said, we need City of Atlanta staff to be able to oversee the consultants. So it solves a portion of the problem, but does not solve the complete problem. I know that you're always interested in grants. We do have 6 active grants right now. We won a competitive grant, and we have 4 applications that have been submitted by Atlanta DOT for future funding, some very significant ones, including one that relates to implementation of many sidewalk projects, which we know are very important to all the communities. I want to give you an update on the lighting progress, and I hope you've had the chance to visit City Hall at night sometime in the last month or so, because all of the lights around City Hall and now all of downtown are shining again. So it's very exciting, among many other areas, but it was really important that we make sure that this House of the People was well served, and there are so many activities happening in this building day and night that it was just unacceptable to have it be totally dark around our home here. The program is progressing very rapidly. Our partners at Georgia Power have been just excellent partners. Not only are they going to hit the 10,000 mark that was the mayor's target, but we should hit about 11,000 lights by the end of this first tranche, which is going to be substantially complete by the end of this calendar year. So we're on or ahead of schedule for that. To just plant a seed in your minds, we are going to be having conversations about the next batch of lights, because this was only a portion of all the lights in the city. So I'm sure that you've had many other requests. We've received some of them directly, but we will be getting together with you to talk about, where are the next areas. The ones that were selected in the first go-around, it was very data-driven. There were areas where there was high crime. There were areas where there were too many crashes or pedestrian incidents. Those kinds of data drove this first tranche. Some of those data will be used again for the next round, but I'm sure there are other reasons why additional lights need to be illuminated in other parts of the city, and so we'll be having that conversation. The LMIG, which is the local maintenance improvement grant that we get from Georgia DOT, is coming to a close for this year. In the next couple of weeks, that program will be complete, and we will have resurfaced about 37 miles of lane in the city of Atlanta. So not an enormous amount if you look at the full extent of the city, but important projects for us to move forward, and really good progress on this. We have already started the work to stand up the program for the next batch of money that we get from the Georgia DOT. So unlike the program this year, which started very late in the season, next year the program will start much, much earlier. I want to talk about potholes, our pothole posse. So they're fast and furious. They're not only filling the potholes that come in through 311, but when they go out to a location and they see other potholes, of course, they're filling those as well. So their target was about 30 per day. They're over 40 per day. They're very dedicated to this mission. They have touched all parts of the city and continue to receive new requests, prioritize those, and keep moving forward. And this program will continue on into next year as well. So this just gives, I'm not going to read all the numbers here, but this just gives you a quick summary of some of the projects that have been implemented and some of the accomplishments of the department. We have a tremendous staff here. I hope you, as I appreciate them, I hope you do as well. They work really hard. They work really smart. They really love the city. They're very dedicated to us accomplishing the mission so that we all have a better place to live. The downtown resurfacing project, which you were kind enough to approve, will start this Saturday, weather permitting. We will get through a significant portion of that, and as was requested by Councilmember Dozier, not only are we implementing the components that we had already planned, but the staff has worked countless hours to identify and design and plan in some of those additional improvements that were requested, that were scheduled for later on, but we have the opportunity now to implement some of them. So that will be happening as part of the downtown repaving program. The 311 requests, we get an enormous number of requests, as you might imagine. And I want to focus in, this gives you just a summary of the top categories of projects, but you can also see, and you can probably see better than I can, the number of requests in our backlog is over 11,000. We have great staff, and they work really hard, and they work as fast as they can, but this is a tremendous workload. And so one of the things that we're doing right now is we are simultaneously evaluating the types of requests we're getting, the type of staff that we have, the number of staff members that we have, the service level agreements, how quickly we promise to get these projects done. And we're doing an evaluation to be able to come back to you and say, if we want to achieve this amount of work in this amount of time, this is how much staff we need. Because right now, we just don't have enough staff to keep up with the demands that are being brought to us. And there's so many of these that are not only legitimate, but really needed, that we would like to be more productive and chew through this list a little bit faster. This gives you an idea of the different categories, those service level agreements, how quickly we committed in the past with more staffing than we have now, the areas where we're succeeding and the areas where we're falling behind. And so this is part of the data that we'll be using to help inform us and then inform you about what our needs are in order to meet the needs of the citizens of the city. And with that, I will break for some questions.
Are there any questions from council members? The first question is from Councilmember Marcy Overstreet. Oh no, Keisha Sean Waits was up first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you again for everything that you've done for us during your tenure here at the city. I received several emails regarding Moreland Avenue in terms of speeding, different dynamics. And so I'd love to chat offline to figure out how we can address, is this a litany of things in the emails? And so I forward those. What is your transition time in terms of?
I know that the hiring process is in progress, and I don't know when that will conclude, but I suspect that there'll also be some overlap to make sure that there's a very smooth transition. And,
Okay.
And if there's a desire for me to stay part-time, to help out, I'm more than delighted to do that. I've kind of fallen in love with being here. So,
Terrific. Well, again, thank you for everything. And so I'd love to schedule some time to sit down when you're available to talk about some of the challenges with Moreland
Yes,
Avenue.
and I appreciate that. And just please also know that I've reached out to Georgia DOT because that is a state route. And so anything that we want to do, of course, we need to coordinate with them.
Okay. Okay. Thank you again.
Sure.
The next question is from Councilmember Marcy Overstreet.
Hello, Commissioner Bomar. Thank you so much for your presentation and also for this week. It feels like this week. It was what? Well, it was less than a week ago, for sure. Because you all said yes when I asked for that community engagement meeting. And I think that it was something that we needed to do. And that I do know that you all are committed to reaching into the community and coming back every 6 months or so, as long as that Cascade Complete Streets project is going on. And I appreciate that. I really do. I don't even care if we show up and we're not hearing all the things that we like to hear. Communication is the most important part for me. That's why we put in this legislation today for how important it is that we actually have that project going from west to east. There are so many reasons why it's important. But we do know that you all are going to put expert eyes on that and do your best. And that's the important part. Those meetings will always keep us on track or everyone on the same page, whether we are completely happy about the news that we're getting or not. And that's the important part to me. So thank you so much for that meeting and for the future commitment for making sure that Cascade Complete Streets is going well. And not just there, you also came this week. Was that this week?
It was last week.
So you also came last week too with your vest because we were walking Dicey through our Roll the Dice walk in Adams Park with the suspended sidewalk, which is crazy, or our ADA stairs. And none of that makes sense, right? And that's why we did the walk. And so, you know, just thank you. I know we're working on safety plans everywhere, but those kind of things are opportunities for us to make those communities more whole, because it is a beautiful park and a beautiful golf course. And now the children are right there at Cascade Elementary School, and they want to walk to the park, and they're helping us design our streets actively, and your department actually helped with that too. So those kind of things are so important. So thank you so much for showing up in District 11 with us.
Well, thank you so much, and I really want to share that with the staff because, you know, I may be the pretty face, but really the hard work happens back in the office.
And I agree
you know
with you. So I want to thank the entire team because I speak with quite a bit of them all the time. And I'm not always as nice as I can be. I'm very nice most of the time. But I do appreciate them always answering the phone and getting right back to me with the information that I've requested or sending someone out in the community because I'm standing on the streets waiting on you. So thank you for all of that. My question for today on your presentation is about the funded versus unfunded positions.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it does make it impossible for us to deliver what we've promised we're going to do, and we are so capable of delivering, and we have the funding available to deliver. So if we're talking about just unfunded positions, we've got to correct that, because I know
Thank you.
the city of Atlanta has the expertise to fill those positions, and I'm committed to fill them because I want to get these projects done.
Thank you so much, yes. And we will put together mission-critical asks. We're not going to ask for 95 positions right now. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
But we are finishing the analysis so that we can say to you, this is what we need and this is why, so that we can bring that to you and hopefully get that moving forward quickly.
Okay.
And you'll see why in the next presentation.
Sure, and that's what I'm letting you know too, that I'm committed to helping you with
I
that.
greatly appreciate that.
When I first got on council, our concern was we had so many funded empty positions, and that was a problem too. And now we're seeing that we have too many unfunded needed positions that are empty. And so we've got to get that balance right, because it does make the difference of delivering projects or not. So I'm committed to helping you with that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And if I can take personal privilege, since we asked the taxi drivers to be recognized, you know, given your recognition of the staff, could I ask the DOT staff who are here to please stand up and be recognized? And we have some of them here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jessica, am I allowed to say anything? Okay, so it is with a very, very, very tremendous amount of respect, but with a very, very big hole in my heart that I do have to share with you today that although we're a great place to work and everybody loves being here, Ms. Jessica Fulton, our Deputy Commissioner, has found an opportunity that she just couldn't ignore. So we celebrate her time here, her tremendous contribution, and I want to thank her, and I know that you would like an opportunity to do that as well. So.
Thank you. Ms. Fulton, thank you very much. I'm sorry to see you go, but congratulations. I'm sure you're making a good decision for yourself.
So,
And
I know, it took my breath away too. Yeah.
And I want to say, Jessica, you're the person I look to when we in the meetings with transportation. I'm always looking for you to see if we're doing it right. And so congratulations to the company that's about to get you, organization that's about to get you. It's a loss over here, but it's also an opportunity for growth over here. The city of Atlanta, we help build folks and we grow. And so congratulations, go excel. We'll welcome you back, but it's opportunity for somebody to grow. I'm excited to see that happen as well. We had a next up, Council.
Well said, thank you.
Next up, we have Councilmember Keisha Sharon Waits. I actually have a few questions for her as well, but I'm gonna wait because I can do it anytime I want to because I'm the chair today. And so, Keisha, my council member, Keisha Sharon Waits, next.
I just simply wanted to echo the sentiments of our chairman this morning, and that is when you see individuals recruiting our top talent, it speaks to what we have here in the city of Atlanta. And so we wish you well in your endeavors, and we thank you for everything you've done. Thank you.
That being said, the rest of you cannot leave. I'm just saying.
I just hope we don't take 90 days to replace her. My goal is that, because I like our new HR folks, and it looks like we're able to get stuff in through. We want to make a good hire, but I hope that the position is funded but not filled. I hope it ain't one of those unfunded positions for the next 90 days, and it makes it onto this report
Well,
next.
it is funded, and we are making progress in looking for very hard shoes to fill.
And
We will bring somebody wonderful on board.
Thank you. And my question was around that as well, and just a little different from the question Councilmember Overstreet asked. How many of the vacancies are funded currently?
We probably only have about, I would say, under 10 positions that are funded but vacant. That largely because so many of the positions were unfunded that we kind of stopped looking for people. So we are actively recruiting for several positions right now, and we'll, of course, have a couple of more positions posted very shortly. And then as we are provided the opportunity to elevate some of those unfunded positions, we will work hard to fill those as well.
Thank you, and I also want to say thank you to the DOT, Department of Transportation, for the laser focus on Georgia Power coming to District 12. I went to a meeting with Georgia Power a month ago, and not one of the new lights, I didn't see any of the bright spots in District 12. So to see some complete streets, some complete areas in that 1 month turnaround was a dedication from your team, putting your stepping for us. So I appreciate you for stepping for us. The next presentation is, wait, I apologize. Councilman Matt Westmoreland.
Yeah, one quick question on the funding front. Thank you for your presentation. How can the people up here be helpful as it relates to filling essential vacancies?
So you all have big networks. As we start posting all the positions that we want to fill, if you will spread the word within your networks. I use my network. I'm very active in civil engineering community, in the transportation engineering community, et cetera. I work that network. So if we partner on that, I think we can bring some great candidates. Us sending the message, all of us sending the message about what a great place it is to be at this time in history. This is a remarkable city of Atlanta and a great time to be here. So many exciting things going on, so much energy, so much collaboration happening. I think we all need to tell that story, and I think we'll attract the top talent.
And then of the vacant positions that we do have, could you or someone send a report of the ones that have been approved by the finance shop to actually
Move forward.
put forward into the world? And then what would also be helpful is a list of what hasn't yet been approved, but that would be really helpful if it were approved.
Absolutely. I have a really hot one on that list. Yeah.
Let's get it done. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
I like when people are thinking about pie in the sky. So thank you for that. Our next presentation is from Department of Transportation as well. Are you prepared?
I am totally prepared. Thank you. So I want to thank the council members who are here and some who are not in the room today for taking time to go through the strategic delivery plan. We've had a number of meetings with individual council members to get your feedback, and we've incorporated the feedback that we've gotten. So the presentation that you're going to see today will conclude with what some of the modifications are, what some of the changes are, which are really just in the batches, and I'll explain what those are and why at the end. But just very quickly, I want to remind everybody that this program is not just a DOT program, that this is also Parks and Rec and DEEM, and they will, of course, be presenting to their committees as well. But this would not have come together without a tremendous amount of working with our partners, in particular, the Department of Procurement, who simultaneously worked on streamlining their processes, interactively working with us to understand where we've hit bottlenecks before. Department of Finance has been tremendous in helping us, the communications people, and many, many others who have helped us to make sure that, we could make the promise and do our best to fulfill the promise. So just as a quick reminder, in addition to the projects that are itemized, you see some lines highlighted in yellow there. And I know that you recently passed some legislation to give yourselves until March of next year. Please let us know how we can help you to identify the ways in which you want to spend your discretionary dollars. We need to get those programmed as quickly as possible so they can be delivered within the bond timeframe, which is 3 to 5 years. So we're anxious to learn what you already know you want to put on there, and then allow us to provide you with some information or use some of the tools that we have to identify other requests that have come forward in your communities that you may want to consider. One of the things that we did in getting ready for this was to really talk to everybody involved in Renew and in T-SPLOST 1.0 to see what lessons were learned. And it became really obvious that we needed to have very clear processes, very clear steps through the process and responsibilities. We're not going to go over this chart. I just wanted to highlight the fact that we have put a very organized process in place. In addition to the process, one of the things that makes good things happen is clarity on who is responsible for what actions. So as part of each project, when it is activated, we will build what's called a RACI matrix. RACI matrix tells us who is responsible, who is accountable, who just needs to be consulted, and who just needs to be informed for every action in the project process. The other piece that we want to make sure is clear to everybody is that we have already put in place some monitoring and control that was added after the Renew and T-SPLOST 1.0 started. A system was built. Again, we've learned lessons. We have opportunities to do some enhancement of those control measures, but there will be overarching control and then reporting out on a regular basis, which I'll share with you very shortly. But please know that there will be a lot of accountability in this program that is more and different than the previous programs. I do want to stop and say that the previous programs are on track to deliver about $500 million worth of projects. So even though there have been hiccups along the way, those programs have been very powerful and very successful for the city of Atlanta. But we did learn lessons along the way, and there's always room for continuous improvement. So we've reflected those lessons in standing up these processes. Scope, schedule, and budget are always on the forefront of the minds of people who deliver transportation projects. Risk is also something we have to assess. So we have, within our processes, we'll not only be looking at the traditional scope, schedule, and budget, but we'll be building what are called risk matrices for projects so that in advance of something happening, we can anticipate what might happen, what the likelihood of it happening is, and what mitigation measures we might put in place to try to avoid that particular risk. I talked about accountability. So transparency and accountability what it's all about. And when I shared this with the mayor, he said to me, I want you to radically over-communicate. So hold on to your hats because that's what we're going to do. So, we already have a great website. We are in the process of getting ready to modify it so that we can allow you to select, which group of projects you may want to look at. So if you want to look at just this Moving Atlanta Forward program, you can just look at that. If you want to look at the legacy programs, you'll be able to find that information as well. But there are some additional requirements that are in the legislation for this program. So there will be, in addition to the project updates that you get every month, there will be very visible schedule information at a high level. It won't be what the contractors use, for their hour by hour, day by day, but there will be some schedule information provided. We will be reporting out to the NPUs on the progress of the projects. There will be a quarterly report to this committee. Did the microphone go off? Okay. To this committee, in addition to our, and it's your choice if you want this as a separate presentation or if you want it rolled into the department's quarterly presentation. And then there will be annual documents that will be published. One of the things that I want to highlight to all of you is, in addition to you having to pick your projects, you have to pick your people. So the Oversight Committee is a committee that will be populated by choices of the mayor, the council president, and the council members. So we ask that you get together with your groups and as quickly as reasonable, please identify your candidates so that we can get the Oversight Committee together, bring them up to speed on the process, on the projects, and to help them understand what their role is in kind of keeping an eye on the program. We did share with you the batching that was done. We used a lot of, again, data-driven metrics to figure out how to group the projects together. In addition to that, we reached out to the council members. We have some great partners, in particular with our CIDs and some other organizations. So we reached out and worked with them as well. And then after we presented the draft plan to you, we learned of the requirements of the bond program, which says that we need to make a good faith effort to deliver the projects, certain projects within a 3-year time frame, the simpler ones, and the more complex ones within 5 years. So we had to make some adjustments to the batching based on that. Hopefully you can see that, but what that shows you on the left side are the changes to the to the program based on the requirements of the bond. So some of the projects which were in later batches, we had to pull forward to initiate them so that they would at least stand a chance to be done in that 5-year window. Again, they're complex projects. Everybody knows that sometimes things happen on construction projects, but we will make that effort to move those forward. And then on the right-hand side are the requests that were made from some council members for some adjustments. Those are the only ones we've received to date. Of course, the council members always have the option of requesting changes. We're again trying to balance the staff that we have, the number of consultants that we can manage, where the projects are in their life cycle. We want a balance of projects around the city. We want different types of projects. We want a steady flow of construction. So we're not front-loading all the construction and then have several years of it looking like nothing's happening. So there are a lot of factors that went into the batching, and so we're trying to maintain some amount of balance so that we can be successful together delivering this program. And so, the question is, how will this program be successful? What have we learned? And these are just some of the items that we think are really important to highlight. We think that, and I appreciate Councilmember Overstreet's comment earlier, transparency is really important. Even if the news isn't good, we're gonna tell you honestly what's going on. And hopefully we'll have much more good news than not good news, but we will keep you well informed. We are gonna keep those processes in place. We have developed templates. We've developed very streamlined methods for everybody who participates in each project to work from the same structure so that there's a lot more consistency throughout the delivery of the program. We do have qualifications in place now for project managers that we did not have before. So for project managers to handle larger projects, they have to have a particular level of experience. We're not going to risk a big project with a project manager who is earlier in their career state. So again, lessons learned from previous efforts. We still have a great set of accomplishments from Renew and T-SPLOST 1.0, and we're really looking forward to delivering this Moving Atlanta Forward program for you. And I think my battery died. But I think I'm also. Can you advance it from there? There you go. Oop. One more? No, it's not advancing. Oh, okay. I thought there was a question slide at the end. Okay, thank you. All righty. So I'll be happy to entertain any questions you might have. But I do believe that I think the legislation requires that you adopt, I think that's the right word, the plan. So I present it to you for consideration for adoption.
Thank you. We have a few questions from council members. I want to say that was thank you again for delivering this strategic plan, delivery plan. Thank you, Councilmember Matt Westmoreland, for putting together this plan to actually get some oversight done as well. The first speaker from Councilmember is Alex Wong.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Commissioner Bowmore, so I want to talk about, this is great. I appreciate the information on the 2022 projects, but I think we just got to acknowledge that we still have all the 2015 work that is out, and we thank the public for their patience, but we got to be mindful that we got to quickly wrap that up and consider all that as we are launching into 2022. My first question is, in terms of a timeline, have y'all built out, I mean, obviously you're starting to phase or batch the projects for 2022, but have y'all overlaid the 2015 projects on top of that to make sure that it's realistic and practical, and then, that as you're doing that we are building in the right staffing resources, consultant and outside third-party resources to be able to deliver?
Yes, we've had 2 internal workshops on that very subject, and we have 2 more coming up in the next 2 weeks. So hopefully by the end of that, with the other information that we're putting together, we will have that answer as to what our true staffing need is to be able to deliver it. The good news is that we can use the general engineering service contracts for the remaining design work from the first program. Those contracts.
Yep. Okay.
Were intended for that and just took a little bit longer to get going.
And I would say, I think we need to be as public-facing as possible on that because, I think, again, folks realize that we're going to have 2 infrastructure bond and T-SPLOST initiatives underway at the same time for an overlap, and they're being able to see, okay, the projects that are in my area, my neighborhood that I care about, this is how they're going to wrap up, and this is how the 22 projects are going to launch. I think the worst thing we could do to ourselves is that we get really far down the 2022 projects and we haven't
They'll
really
have
moved
15,
anything in
yeah.
2015. I think we just gotta,
Agreed.
pedal on both. I would suggest that the website that you talked about, that is, at least in my district, that's, everybody is looking to that. They've gotten used to it. So let's take advantage of that. Let's make sure we have as much information out there as possible, and that it's updated as frequently as possible. I think, I would say that the ADOT site is great. I think we may, I think we need to just try and lift the bond projects, the infrastructure projects to that level as well. And the other thing I'll say about that too is I think even disaggregating these bigger giant projects that have been phased so that the public can follow that as well. The website, will it end up having both projects or both initiatives kind of on the same, or do people have to go to the 2015 website and then go to the 2022 website to be able to follow what they're trying to follow?
So there will be a launch page for Moving Atlanta Forward. From that launch page, you'll either go to DOT, Parks and Rec, or DEEM.
Okay.
When you go to the DOT page, you'll come to our website, our project page, and then you'll be able to select if you want to see the Renew, T-Splosh 1.0, or Moving Atlanta Forward, or all of them together.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
we've kicked it around, and we think that's the simplest way to get people to the information that they are looking for.
Yeah, I think having that all-together option is important because the public doesn't necessarily know. They just know that, hey, I know at some point I authorized or I voted to support
Right.
a project list that includes my street, but they won't necessarily know, oh, this was.
But they don't know the color of money, right?
The last thing I'll say is, I think the transparency piece is very important. I think, and I'm going to channel my inner Jason Dozier right now. I think we are painfully aware about the budgeting process, the estimates that went into preparing the project list, both for 2015 and the painful recalibration that the previous council went through. But we're still facing the same dynamic right now with a lot of volatility in pricing. So I think for me, over the next 3 years as we go on, I know that there's contingency in there to absorb some of the surprise. I think that's just a number we're going to have to keep an eye on, and it has to be displayed out there very visibly so that we can anticipate a need to recalibrate versus being surprised by the need to recalibrate.
Great. Yeah, I agree with that, and I think there's a part of it that we won't be able to control.
Right.
But I do want to say that we've been working very closely with procurement and others. We are going to be having a vendor fair in January. One of the things we want to demonstrate to the contracting community is that we're better partners than we were before, because I think that also drove some of the pricing up.
Sure. Yep.
So we're doing things now to clean up some of the parts that have been lingering for a while to demonstrate that good faith. And we will be coming collectively and collaboratively to the contracting community to explain to them what's different, how we're changing processes to make it better for them to work with us. We're also looking at different contracting methods to be more efficient, both with our time and resources as well as with the actual construction of the projects.
This is kind of a random question, but you mentioned that the projects are split between ADOT, Parks and Rec, and DEEM. So I'm assuming that Parks and Rec is reporting or is providing the same level of project status and update to CDHS. I don't know if any of my colleagues sit on there, but and then I would imagine I don't know that DEEM does that, or maybe would DEEM report to Finance Exec? Is that okay? All right. I say that just for us colleagues. I think we've got to make sure that we are all kind of concurrently keeping an eye on the three different owners of the project lists as we go forward. Final thing I'll say is one of the things I've been telling my communities and my neighborhoods every chance I get is, you kind of alluded to it, it feels like everybody is rowing in the same direction, which is a great feeling. Like, y'all are working, procurement is working, and all these changes are going into place based on what we learned from the last bond, and that's really encouraging. So I think it sounds like we got the bones there. Now we just got to deliver, and so I appreciate the update.
Our next speaker is Marcy Collier Overstreet, council member.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lewis. Commissioner Bomar, I have just a quick question. Literally, we had the exact same concern. And so I wrote down a question. I want to be clear about are the parameters the same for both T-Splosh 1.0 and T-Splosh 2.0, where our projects need to be delivered between 3 and 5 years?
No, the bond requirements only applied, the requirements only applied to the bond program, which is why the batching is also somewhat heavily front-loaded with bond projects. We also get all the bond money at one time, where the SPLOST money comes in over time. So we also have to wait to accumulate some of those SPLOST dollars.
Got it. So to that, I've discussed this with you in face to face. It's terribly important that we scrub our list to make sure that projects are not incomplete from T-Splosh 1.0 in the same areas that 2.0 are in batch 1. That's extremely important as a community, because what it does is it instills non-confidence in what we've told them we're going to do. And it also kind of, puts a little bit of division within the community, because one area is feeling bad because they've been promised something for so long. And when I say so long, I mean long for real, like 2016 or 2022. And then they'll see that T-Splosh 2.0 is taking off, and oh my goodness, we'll be done in a minute. And we can promise you this is going to be done because it's mandated. So we want to keep our trust where it is today, where people see us doing the work that we've promised, and that I just want to make sure that we're scrubbing our list so that we are absolutely looking seamless. It's probably not going to be comfortable at first because of the batching that we had to provide, but I think in the long run, it's going to be what it's supposed to look like as we present to the communities.
Appreciate that input, and I think we've checked that, but we will definitely go back and do another look.
Yeah, so I did see a correction today, which will help the situation where I'm concerned. But I just want to make sure that we don't have other communities in the same situation that I'm in throughout the city, because I really want us to get this right, because one day we might want a 3.0, right?
Agreed.
And I don't want us to still be working on 1.0, okay? Or people to think, you know what, they just don't get this right no matter what we do. I want us to stay where we are today as far as delivering and engaging and actually, being who we say we are. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Overstreet. Are there any more questions for the Department of Transportation? Are you clear with everything on us?
I am clear. Ms. Anderson just informed me, we do not have the legislation in front of you for the adoption, so we'll have to do that in the next cycle. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be chair then too, so. Same rules apply.
right, fair
You know,
enough.
same rules apply. Y'all got me 2 times. God willing, they'll let me speak in the council meeting this time. So, Mr. David, we'll proceed to the consent agenda.
Section G, ordinance for first reading, item number 1, 22-01837. An ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the city of Atlanta to enter into an operation and maintenance agreement with Atlanta Airlines Terminal Company covering the operation and maintenance of certain facilities used to perform aircraft de-icing located at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, waiving 2-1187 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes. Item number 2, 22-01838, an ordinance by Transportation Committee amending the FY23 Airport Renewal and Extension Fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations of grant funds in the amount of $26,853,067.00 from the Federal Aviation Administration to amend the FY23 Passenger Facility Charge Fund budget by transferring to and from appropriations in the amount of $8,951,022.00 for the City of Atlanta's share for the Federal Aviation Administration Grant Agreement 3-13-8-130-2022 for the purpose of reconstruction of taxiway shoulder pavement, taxiways B, E, F, M, and N, and for other purposes. Item number 3, 22-01839, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to amend the FY 2023 Airport Customers Facility Charge Fund budget by transferring to and from appropriations in the amount of $1,500,000.00 to reimburse rental car operators for construction of approved projects and for other purposes. Item number 4, 22-01840, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to apply for and accept grant funding from the Georgia Department of Transportation for the 2023 Local Maintenance Improvement Grant for the purpose of resurfacing certain City of Atlanta streets in the amount of $4,563,076.09 and for other purposes. Item number 5, 22-01841, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to accept a grant from the National Center for Safe Routes to School to amend the fiscal year 2023 budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations in an amount not to exceed $10,000.00 to increase the budget amount authorized for the National Center for Safe Routes to School pilot project, to authorize the mayor or his designee to enter into agreements with the National Center for the Safe Routes to School for grant acceptance and implementation and for other purposes. This takes us to section H, ordinance for second reading, item number 6, 22-01807, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to accept grant funding from the Georgia Department of Transportation for the Westlake Avenue Bridge Replacement Project, PI number is listed herein, to amend the fiscal year 2023 intergovernmental grant fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations in the amount of $942,800.00 to enter into any necessary agreements with the Georgia Department of Transportation for grant acceptance and participation and for other purposes.
Is there anything from the department?
Just real quick, good morning, Jessica Fulton, Deputy Commissioner, Atlanta Department of Transportation. This funding represents the federal funds that will be utilized for right-of-way acquisition on this project. These funds represent about 44% of the total right-of-way costs. The remaining right-of-way costs will be covered by the Renew Bond Program.
And we have a question from Councilmember Alex Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. First, Ms. Fulton, congratulations, and yeah, I'm sad to see you go because you've been such a stalwart in the department. Appreciate your work and your contributions, and best of luck. This project I see was originally contemplated in the 2015 Renew Atlanta project list. The funding that we're getting from GDOT, was that anticipated as part of the project cost, or does that supplant the original funding? Does it create another $1 million that we can use for the other projects within the Renew list?
It does not create any additional funds for the project. This project has a lot of federal funds to assist it, and these funds were originally anticipated.
Okay, they were already anticipated for that. And what's the timeline on the delivery of the project?
We are currently completing the design phase. We're moving into right-of-way acquisition. We are working with GDOT to see what construction phase this will actually be in. So I have to get that information for you.
Thank you. I'll move approval.
Been moving properly second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Ms. Fulton, thank you for coming up. And you're supposed to wear red today. I wore red today for a reason, too. We know what red means, so I appreciate you today.
Thank you.
Please proceed, Mr. Johnson.
Item number 7, 22-01808, an ordinance by Transportation Committee waiving the Code of Ordinance source selection provisions contained in Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute Amendment Number 2 to the Airport Use and Lease Agreement with Delta Airlines Incorporated that allows the surrender and addition of certain space on Concourse D for design and construction of an airline club and certain design and construction work for Concourse D widening at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, authorizing reimbursement to Delta Airlines Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $166 million and 0 cents. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Do we have anything from the airport?
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair, and good morning, City Council Member. B.B. Odari, Airport General Manager. So in our airport use and lease agreement, this allowed Delta to lease exclusive use space here at the airport. And so what Delta will do is build a new third level on Concourse D Center Point at 25,000 square feet Sky Club. And that Sky Club must be integrated with the rest of Concourse D widening project. The Sky Club itself will be roughly $92 million, and the integration construction portion to tie in to Concourse D widening is about $74 million, thus the $166 million request for approval. $33.1 million was approved in a previous legislation, and so the rest is put in this legislation for a total of $166 million.
We have a question from Councilmember Keisha Waits.
At the appropriate time, I'd like to be excused from the vote.
Move to approve.
And moving properly second, and Councilmember Keisha Waits will be excused from this vote. We're going to assume she went to the restroom.
No, she'll let her abstain.
Can you please open the vote?
One moment. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. This item is favorable. Item number 8, 22-01828, an ordinance by Council Members Antonio Lewis, Michael Julian Bond, Matt Westmoreland, Keisha Shawn Waits, Jason H. Winston, Byron D. Amos, Liliana Bakhtiari, Andre L. Boone, and Dustin Hillis, amending the Atlanta Code of Ordinance, Chapter 22, Aviation, so as to amend the permissible age of a taxi or rideshare vehicle from 7 years to 10 years and for other purposes. And Mr. Vice Chair, that this item needs to be substituted. The substitute amends a portion of Code Sections 22-236 and 22-330 that relates to the age of taxis and rideshare vehicles operating at the airport.
And been moved forward by Councilmember Wan and second by Councilmember Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is brought before you.
We'll now hear from Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits.
Mr. Chair, just want to thank you again for bringing this important piece of legislation in terms of providing equity and leveling the playing field and making sure that our drivers in terms of the taxi industry remain competitive in such a competitive industry. And so thank you for the legislation.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Waits, for working with me on that. Next up, we have a question from Councilmember Marcy Overstreet.
Thank you, Councilman Lewis. I want to just be real clear about my vote because I am going to be supportive. Well, did I second? But I'm going to be supportive because right now we are at a place where it is hard to even purchase used or new cars. And I feel strongly about the fact that our taxi drivers really are like a front line for us. So I want them to use this time to make sure that our face is looking fantastic out of our, world's leading, most efficient, busiest airport. I just want us to look very professional and take this time to make sure that we are doing all that we can to provide a superior product. And that is hard right now because of where we are with used cars and new cars in just the industry. It's not easy to change these cars out like it used to be. But I also want us to use innovative ways of branching out how we do taxis. So maybe we can use this time for that as well. All right.
Thank you. The next speaker is Councilmember Alex Wan.
All right, so I appreciate that logic, and I agree with you, Councilmember Overstreet. Here is my pause on this, is that phenomenon, the market phenomenon, is not permanent. That at some point it's going to flip back. And so at that point, this legislation will be in place that simply just is 10 years going from this point on. And to then unring the bell and try and pull it back to 7 years in terms of age at that point is going to be tough. But to your point, you're right. I mean, the taxi industry is one of our first kind of contact with folks that come from out of town. So I'm going to abstain on this so that it's not on the consent agenda. I'd like to talk to either the authors or the administration. I wonder if we would best serve ourselves to put a sunset on this, to then accommodate the market situation in hopes that it does abate at some point, and that, as cars can start, it's more easy to get new cars and used cars. At that point, we will kind of revert back to a higher standard in terms of age and condition of cars. So I support in concept what we're doing here because of the market situation, but again, I think the market situation is temporary, hopefully, and that we would be best served to give ourselves a time limit on this.
Before I let Councilmember Waite speak, I just recall what Mr. George said. When they first implemented this law, 800 drivers dropped that day. And so the folks that survived, when we talk about front line, the folks that survived, the 300 that survived, we might not have any taxi cabs anymore at the city of Atlanta. And I'm afraid of that happening at our airport, of it only being like the rich people that can buy new taxi cabs, and now they're like sharecropping out taxi cab drivers. And we're just talking about black men driving those cabs. So I'm very nervous about that. Keisha Waits, Councilmember Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm curious, I don't know if the law department can answer the question, but what is the rule right now when it comes to Uber and Lyft in terms of the age of the vehicles? Do you know?
Councilmember Waits, let me please defer to the aviation attorney.
Okay.
So this rule applies for Uber and Lyft too, and so this paper addresses both taxi and the rideshare program, extending the age limit from 7 to 10.
Okay, my apologies, I didn't understand. But I do know that our friend Kevin Ross indicated to me that currently the city of Atlanta has 1,600 medallions, taxi medallions, to my understanding, and right now only 300 are being used. So if that kind of gives you an idea of where the need is, I think that's pretty significant.
And a part of why I worked on this, and we did a work session with the taxi drivers in particular, was because when they came, they had a list of demands that they wanted, and I was trying to see what did the council have the appetite for, what could we have the appetite for, and what kind of relief could we grant folks who've been doing this kind of work. And so the one thing we saw that the relief, and I looked national, we looked at New York, we looked at other states, other cities with major airports, not small cities, major cities like Atlanta, which there are 5 of them in the United States of America, only 5. And so looking at them, this is what they are, which is why I want to grant a little relief to our taxi drivers. Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits had something else to say next.
No,
No, sir. Okay, so we'll keep moving, Council.
Mr. Vice Chair, there needs to be a motion on the floor.
I move that we support the legislation as second by Councilmember Keisha Waits. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. This item is favorable on substitute. This takes us to Section I, resolutions. Mr. Vice Chair, if there is no objection from the committee, can we take items number 9, 13 through 15, and 21 together as a block? These legislative items are all for the installation of stop signs.
Yes.
Item number 9, 22R 4591, a resolution by Jason Winston requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Richmond Street Southeast and Martin Street Southeast an always stop control intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 13, 22R 4609, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Batiari requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of McDonald Street Southeast and Burien Avenue Southeast an always stop control intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 14, 22R 4610, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Batiari requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of McDonald Street Southeast and Cameron Street Southeast an always stop control intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item numbers 15, 22R 4611, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Wiley Street Southeast and Eston Street Southeast an always stop control intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 21, 22R 4618, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari requesting the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Ty Street Southeast and Wiley Street Southeast an always stop control intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and probably second by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Mr. Vice Chair, if there's also no objection from the committee, can we take items 10, 11, and 18 together as a block?
Please do, Mr. Johnson.
These legislative items are all for the installation of traffic calming devices. Item number 10, 22R 4599, a resolution by Councilmember Antonio Lewis requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Garibaldi Street Southwest from Fletcher Street Southwest to University Avenue Southwest and for other purposes. Item number 11, 22R 4600, a resolution by Councilmember Antonio Lewis requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Mount Zion Road Southwest from Waters Road Southwest to Browns Mill Road Southeast and for other purposes. Item number 18, 22R 4614, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Pearl Street Southeast from Memorial Drive Southeast to Wiley Street Southeast and for other purposes.
Been moved. Second by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, even though Matt Westmoreland said it first.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Let's take.
Yes, you may.
On these speed humps, I want to see if we've had any change in terms of the estimated time to installation. It was, I think, 12 to 18 months. Have we gotten any improvement on that? Again, subject to funding.
Good morning, council members. Alan Smith, Interim Deputy Commissioner for ATL DOT, TIM Division. So right now, I believe we sent a list of locations. There was about 90 or so blog locations that we had. For this fiscal year, we have $1 million, of our funding that will be going towards traffic calming. We estimate that'll get us probably in the 40-ish range of that list. I know we have worked with some of the council members so you could allocate funds for your district to prioritize those. So right now, that 40-ish, 40 or so list should be completed by the end of this fiscal year, next summer, midsummer.
Okay, and then those that have already been funded with district money in that queue will be in that queue before completion by the end of the fiscal year as well?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
This takes us to item number 12, 22R4608, a resolution by council members Liliana Batiari, Andrea L. Boone, and Marcy Collier Overstreet requesting the Atlanta Department of Transportation commence the Cascade Road Complete Street Project construction at Kingsdale Road and for other purposes.
Can we have, the next speaker is Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet.
Chair, this paper was put in because of all of our community engagement throughout the process. And at the last meeting, it was brought to our attention that some of the processes may be a little different from what we thought. So we want everybody to just make sure we stay at the table, consult the experts to see if we can get back to where we first agreed. So I move approval on this item.
Been moved and properly second. Second was Councilmember Alex Wan. Unless Matt wants it, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
It's a new day.
The vote is
Two
closed.
meetings, it's a new day.
5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Mr. Vice Chair, if there is no objection from the committee, can we take items 16, 17, and 19 together as a block?
Please do.
Let's see. Item number 16, 22R4612, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Batiari requesting the mayor or his designee to prohibit parking on the even side of the street of Gordon Avenue Northeast to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install signage at the appropriate locations along the prohibited area and for other purposes. Item number 17, 22R4613, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Batiari requesting the mayor or his designee to prohibit parking on the east side of Pearl Street Southeast from Wiley Street Southeast to Fulton Terrace Southeast to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install signage at the appropriate locations along the prohibited area and for other purposes. Item number 19, 22R4615, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Batiari requesting the mayor or his designee to prohibit parking on the north side of Rogers Street Northeast for the 620-foot east-west section from Arizona Avenue to the 90-degree bend in the road on both sides of Rogers Street on the north-south section between Hosea L. Williams Drive and the 90-degree bend in the road to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install signage at the appropriate locations along the prohibited area and for other purposes.
I move approval. It's been moving properly second. I saw you on the way. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Mr. Vice Chair, item number 20 requires a substitute. The substitute changes the caption. Can I get a motion to bring forth a substitute to read the substitute caption?
Please move by Councilmember Wan, second by by me. I'll be the seconder. Please bring it forward.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is brought before you, and also the substitute adds the side of the street where parking is prohibited. So item number 20, 22R4616, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Batiari as substituted by Transportation Committee, a resolution requesting the mayor or his designee to prohibit parking on the following streets located in the Sweet Auburn neighborhood: on the east side of Hiller Street from Auburn Avenue to Old Wheat Street, on the east side of William H. Borders Drive from Decatur Street to Chamberlain Street, on the west side of Fitzgerald Street from Todd Street to Chamberlain Street, on the north side of Todd Street from Jackson Street to Boulevard Southeast, to request that the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install signage at the appropriate locations along the prohibited areas and for other purposes.
I entertain a motion. It's been moving properly second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. This item is favorable on substitute. Item number 22, 22R 4619, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to amend 9 City of Atlanta construction agreements being performed at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport to add certain required federal contract provisions and for other purposes.
Anything from the airport?
In accordance with FAA compliance, the OCC director identified nine contracts that we have to add certain federal funded language in these contracts. The language will not change the scope, cost, or contractual requirement. And it's just so there's just some wording changes to those contracts.
Moving properly second. Second by Councilman Matt Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 23, 22R 4620, a resolution by Transportation Committee supplementing a joint task order fund in the amount of $3 million for use under contract number FC 9000 Planning Support Services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with RNA TCE joint venture comprised of Recondo and Associates Incorporated and the Creative Eye LLC to provide planning support services on behalf of the Department of Aviation on a task order basis. All services will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Anything from the airport?
This is to add funding to the FY23 budget for a planning contract.
It's been moving properly second. Second by Councilmember Marcy Carrier Overstreet.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 24, 22R 4621, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute a consent order with the Environmental Protection Division, Department of Natural Resources of the State of Georgia, authorizing payment pursuant to the consent order in the amount of $40,000 to resolve alleged violations at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport from September 21st, 2021 through October 26, 2021. All amounts due under the consent order will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Anything from the Department of Aviation?
In September 26, 2021, one of our fuel pit failed because of some bolt failure. And because this is a high-pressure hydrant fuel system, when the failure occurred, we thought to discharge about 400 gallons of fuel. The fuel made it to the storm drains. And the next day, we were told that EPD have found some dead fish in the Flint River. We have already deployed our contamination measured and cleanup. And it took us about a month to sap up all the fuel in the Flint River. And the final total of the spill was roughly about 1,300 gallons. So after negotiating with the EPD and going back and forth on the reason and our emergency process that we have in place, the EPD settled on a $40,000 fine to the airport. Since then, we have taken a comprehensive evaluation and inspection on all of our fuel pits to ensure that any of these deficiencies are corrected.
Moved and properly second. Seconder was Councilmember Matt Westmoreland.
The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Mr. Vice Chair, may we take items number 25 and 27 together? These legislative items pertain to encroachment agreements.
Please do.
Item number 2522R4622, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute an encroachment agreement with TDC Centennial LLC for the purpose of installing a changing sign on the building located at 101 Marietta Street Northwest within and above the intersection of the Cone Street and Marietta Street right away and for other purposes. Item number 27, 22R4624, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into an encroachment agreement with SPX Mixed Use LLC for the purpose of installing and maintaining an abutment and entrance to a pedestrian bridge in and on the Edgewood Avenue right-of-way, connecting it to the apartment building located at 678 Edgewood Avenue Southeast, Atlanta, Georgia 30307, and for other purposes.
Is there a motion? Moved by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland. Second by Councilmember Marcy Carr Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. This takes us to item number 26, 22R4623, a resolution by Transportation Committee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to correct Resolution 22R3872 adopted by the Atlanta City Council on July 5th, 2022, and approved per City Charter Section 2-403 on July 14th, 2022, by correcting the total amount of the project to an amount not to exceed $299,178.25. All other parts of the legislation to remain unchanged and for other purposes.
It's been moving. Anything from the department?
Thank you, Council Member. Just wanted to say this legislation is to correct the amount needed for the replacement of the expansion joints on the Marietta Road Bridge and Bolton Road Bridge by including the licensing and consulting fee of $12,387.56 and 10% owner contingency fee of $26,000. This contract is being executed by the JOC. The JOC is a relatively new contracting mechanism for us. When we submitted the original legislation, we didn't know about the licensing and consulting fee and the owner contingency fee.
I appreciate you, Mr. Smith, but when people come up, I want to make sure we say their full name. I didn't say anything to Mr. Biodori on the last time because he said it the first time he came up, but I know people are just now tuning into these TVs. But move approval, me. Second by Councilmember Marcy Carr Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. This takes us to item number 28, 22R4625, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute amendment number 1 to agreement EAC 1220285, design build for Cheshire Bridge Road replacement bridge over South Fork Peachtree Creek with C.W. Matthews Contracting Company Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Transportation and the Department of Watershed Management to add funding for continued construction of the bridge in an amount not to exceed $2,543,331.93. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from various fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Anything from the department?
I was just going to provide you all with the breakdown of what the funds were for and answer any questions, but no, if you're ready to move, I'm ready for you to move. Okay, so what this represents is Oh, I'm sorry, Jessica Fulton, Deputy Commissioner, Capital Projects, Atlanta Department of Transportation.
And I was gonna say you don't have to because I thought you prepared.
Sorry. Okay. So what this represents is what did not get included in the original scope of the project was design and construction of the water and sewer facilities on the project. That represents $1,896,119.62. We also installed additional riprap material under the bridge as well. That was for a cost of $87,321.08. And then there was a payment that had to be made for staging changes and layout changes in order to allow us to open the bridge on time. The one lane of traffic in each direction, October 31st, due to utility relocations moving a little bit slower than we anticipated. And that cost was $559,891.23.
It was moved by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland. It was moved by Alex Wan, seconded by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland. And please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you.
Item number 29, 22R4695, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to submit to the Federal Aviation Administration a new passenger facility charge application and any necessary amendments thereto at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes.
Anything from the Department of Aviation?
B.B. Odari, Aviation General Manager. And aviation, I must say, are quick learners, so we're not going to make the same mistake. This is seeking approval to submit PFC application number 23 to the FAA to fund that eligible portion of Concourse D widening.
Moving properly second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Seconded by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet.
The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. This takes us to section J, dual referred items. We have one. Item number 30, 22R4420, a resolution by Councilmember Byron D. Amos to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation replace and install neighborhood permit parking signs authorized pursuant to Ordinance 21-0679 for the Vine City Stadium Area Permit Parking Program, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation issue required parking permits to encourage Atlanta parking enforcement in the Vine City Stadium area and for other purposes.
Move approval. Second. Moving properly second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. We have two items coming off held. The first is item number 44. Mr. Vice Chair, this item needs to be substituted.
It's been moved to bring forward the second substitute. Any seconder? Second by Councilmember Keisha Waits.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is brought before you. The substitute provides definitions for the Vine City Stadium area and the event space in legislation.
So move.
No. Mr. Vice, I have to sign the caption.
If you insist.
An ordinance by Councilmember Byron D. Amos, as substituted by the Transportation Committee, an ordinance to amend Chapter 150 Traffic and Vehicles, Article 4, Stopping, Standing, and Parking, Division 5, Vine City Stadium Area Permit Parking Program of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to regulate on-street parking during events at additional spaces in the Vine City area properties and for other purposes.
So move. Second. Moving properly second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute. Our last item, item number 46, 22R 4521, a resolution by council members Amir Faroki, Byron D. Amos, Jason H. Winston, Jason Dozier, and Liliana Batiari requesting the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to amend the administrative regulations for shareable dockless mobility device operators to allow device operation between midnight and 4 a.m. and for other purposes.
Moving properly second, please open the vote. A second by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
It's been moved by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland, seconded by Councilmember Alex Wan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. And Mr. Vice Chair, that concludes our legislative items for today.
If all hearts are clear, all minds are clear, I'll move to adjourn. Meeting is adjourned. Got to go and give us.